Hello, ActiveSage here on the Sage channel, and I have a new ship to show off today, as well as a few contraptions, and mainly these contraptions are a lot of modded stuff. Now the mods I've used are the big Star Wars weapons pack that's out there, as well as my industrial cockpits and more pack, and I've gone ahead and put together a few ships here just to sort of fiddle with laser beams and see what interesting effects I could make. And right away, we can go ahead and just show you what these do. If I was just to hop into one of these, do I have any that I don't have special things on there? This one. And we can just go ahead and pull the trigger. Pew! And these are basically those Star Wars cannons that you can see in that bottom left picture down there, the #1 button, that you saw on those, well, clone trooper sort of landing ships. I can't remember the exact name. But yeah, they're pretty damn nifty. So I figured, let's go ahead and fiddle around with them and see if we can set up some timers to do some interesting stuff. So I set this up, which I think is pretty damn cool. And this is basically, and yeah, you saw a little bit of what's coming there for a second, but this is basically firing them in a big pulse. So if we were to sit right in the middle of them, you can see it's sort of firing in a big pulse. In fact, if we were to go forward, and I'm actually flying forward right now with them, you can almost get to the same speed, so they're almost not even moving like that, which is really odd. And you can probably guess, because we are, well, still moving forward and now at the same speed as these things, these actually go pretty damn far out. So if you're to stop moving, that's what it looks like. They're actually pretty cool from afar too, so if you're to sit right here, you can sort of see a almost spiral pattern with them. You can really see it from, like, let's say this angle sort of shows up a little bit. You can see it right at the end more than anything. Either way, that's what I started out with, is just this silly little contraption stuck together here. Let's go ahead and actually shut that off, shall we? No, I have to actually, I forgot this is one of my earlier ones. There we go, I should have done it. Cool. So yeah, that's what I started out with, and I fiddled with them all, and I did some testing with timers and stuff and found it works better if I just trigger them all. But then I went ahead and ignored that. It was just some weapons testing, fiddling with all the weapons in the mod. Pretty cool stuff, actually. But then I went ahead and built this guy right here, the pill. So I'm calling it a pill popper because it's a little pill that flies about. And I actually made two versions of it. That one there with its sort of interesting back, and this one here with a back that pretty much matches the front. And I stuck the industrial cockpit in there right in the middle. That way when we fire the weapons, we can go ahead and have them all around us. So that's what it looks like now if you're just to mindlessly fire them. And then I can also go ahead and turn on the timers again. And this one, I think I even changed the timing on a little bit more. So this one, instead of, well, it fires them, I think, a little bit quicker. It's much easier to see the pattern now. And it's almost like it's flinging it out there like a hose that you're spinning about. Pretty damn interesting. And we can even fly along with it, and it almost looks like a sign pattern. It's, well, I like it a lot, actually. I adore it. It's quite an interesting effect. And I'm basically just using a bunch of timers that I have stuck inside of the ship. We were to fly into it here and turn on our light. You can see I have a bunch of timers here that are basically firing each other. So this one goes, it fires that one goes, and fires that one. Each time one of them goes, it shoots once on the turrets, or on the little lasers. Pretty nifty. Anyway, you can also see we have some storage in here. It's not really important what else is in here. It's pretty simplistic. But I figured, you know, I'm not exactly happy with this ship, the simple pill popper. Both these are pretty much exactly the same, even on the inside. The only real difference is that that one just has this bumpy outingness on the back of it. So let's go ahead and make some changes to it. So I went ahead and cut into it a little bit to give it some more character. Now let's actually shut that off, because we don't need all that on, do we? So let's shut off our timers, tell the lasers shut off, there we go. And we can bring our character over here so we can actually use a character. There we are. So I went ahead and cut in some edges into the sides of it because that was just a bunch of wasted space anyway. And did some detailing there. I thought it was interesting. Add a little bit more character on it. Experimented around with rounding off the inner bits a little bit. You can see here I even experimented with rounding the rounded inner bits. And then I finally sort of ended up settling on, well, let's make an even bigger clump here. Let's round that. And then, you know what? Let's actually go ahead and stick some guns on it because everyone likes guns. So I've gone ahead and stuck some guns on the sides of the thing, and so now we can hop in here, and we can go ahead and turn on our, oh, timer block's already on, okay, fire this, so we can once again get those lasers firing, and then we can actually go ahead and press a number 5, and turn on an assortment of other lasers, so now we have these larger lasers firing as well. And actually, let's shut off the other ones, because these sound awesome, that awesome old Star Wars sound. And these are actually pretty damn nifty at destroying larger structures. And in fact, if we were to sit completely still, if we can actually break the ship, as in have it stop, you'll even notice that if we were to fire all these at once, they actually push the ship backwards a little tiny bit, which is pretty damn nifty. And so I just went ahead and made this like sort of random pattern here where they'll fire well, I say I made a random pattern. The setup just like the other ones, but they sort of end up firing almost in their own mishmash, confusing pattern. It's a bit odd, and I really honestly don't fully understand it. But it sort of works. They have a almost constant firing of these big, hefty lasers. Or blasters, or whichever you'd like to call them. I love it, though. Again, super duper crazy, stupid long range on all these weapons, which I absolutely adore. You can see it's like almost 10,000 kilometers out, and they're still flinging out here. Pretty damn cool, eh? Anyway, let's fly all the way back. You'd imagine if you had a bunch of drone fleet of these and they were all firing, it'd be something else. Anyway, I also have one last one to show you guys, and let's go ahead and shut those off. Okay, and that would be this one over here, where this one doesn't have any special setting up on these guns in the middle. It's just the weapons that are from, what's it called? Jango Fett's ship, Boba Fett's ship, Slave 1, there we go, I remember the name. And these, I think it's a Control 2 to access them, just are kind of awesome because of the amount of, well, that. Unfortunately, you do get some of the flashing around your screen, but it's pretty awesome just to see. And of course, you can just wreck ships with them, because it's awesome. And look at that, all the pieces come loose, and in fact, if we were to aim at just one specific spot right here, and just unload, it pretty much just cuts a hole in the middle, where it'll even cut out a chunk of the ship. So if we were to fly around to the other side here, you can even see that sometimes you get a perfectly cylindrical piece, yeah, like that there, floating right in the center of it, which is pretty damn cool, actually. Pretty damn cool. These are all light armor ships, so they kind of disintegrate quickly, but it's pretty awesome just to fly about and have some fun with them. Also, we can now just go ahead and demonstrate these blasting away. Let's go ahead and actually switch it back to the more automated mode. So you can see they're bombarding away slowly at stuff, and they do make a much bigger difference on large, heavy armor structures. I mean, this is a heavy armor Sage station we're blasting away at right now, and you can see it's doing some very noticeable damage to the damn thing. Let's go ahead and shut those off, and just show you the standard cannons on that. So these do some pretty heavy damage as well. Now let's go ahead and switch back to the other ones, the ones that actually had all that silliness set up in them. So hop back over here, and we can show you some devastating powers of this front array here. And of course, the standard way you would be using this is, well, in the old days, before I set up a bunch of silly things just for the heck of it, you would of course just pull the trigger and they'd all fire at once. And let's back up a little bit so we can actually see them. There you go. And you see, once again, we're sort of cutting a perfect circular hole. And we can even spin a little bit, and there you go. Now we have most definitely cut a circular piece free, and I love that. But of course, let me finish firing, that way they all reload. We can go ahead and turn on those timer blocks and do this crazy thing. So they start firing like that. And this is even, in a way, an oddly good way to sort of line your shots up. Because there is some, the weapons do take a little bit of time to get to their target. So it could actually work pretty well for, helping you get your target lined up. When you're actually bombarding it, you can see it does also create a pretty cool effect of just slowly pecking away at the ship, which is pretty awesome. And in fact, we can even go as spectator and just see what that looks like from afar, and that's, well, it's quite the oddity, isn't it? Just seeing it slowly chewing away at pieces of the ship in these little tiny little bits. Almost like some sort of spider with a million little legs just reaching out at it somehow, and just biting and chomping and pushing. Of course, we can just hold the trigger, though, at any point and instantly just fire a big beam like that. So that's what I was sort of talking about, where you can line it up with little bits and then just cut away at it by holding down the trigger. Pretty cool. And of course, like I said before, we still have the bigger cannons on the thing as well, if you wanted them to just be randomly firing as well, so you could just wreck stoof. It's pretty cool. I love it. You probably want to see the damage these silly things do on a actual large station as well, so let's just go ahead back into F6 mode and fly them over here. I like just wrecking stuff with this, because let's be honest, stuff does blow up pretty well in Space Engineers, especially when you're in space. And so we can come over here, let's disable our big heavy cannons, and let's just go ahead and start bombarding this station and see what damage these little guys do, which I'm going to spoil it, not too much. So you can see that we're pretty much hitting the same sort of area there, and it's not really decaying at all. And we could even go ahead and push the trigger. Oh, there we go, we cut a hole in it. So we could go ahead and push the trigger, and yeah, not like the others, which just instantly wrecked house. All these weapons, by the way, in this silly mod, apparently do take power. Actually, not just power, but ammunition. But I kind of rigged this ship to have quite a bit of ammo storage inside it, so it should be good for a while. Anyway, guys and gals, that's it for this, really. I just wanted to share this thing I put together. I'm quite happy with it. It's a strange little ship, slightly more rounded than a lot of things I built, but it still has that sort of 6-dimensional, or 6 degrees of freedom. Every direction should match up pretty well when it comes to power output, with a little bit more power towards the, well, get you going forward bits. Anyway, I hope you guys like this ship. It doesn't really have an oxygen tank, but whatever. I think that's pretty much everything. Shut all that off. I'll just show you really, really quickly, right on the inside of it, all the cargo containers that are in there. So you got your 2 layers of timers, bottom row for the standard little lasers, the lat cannons, and then the other ones for the other bigger, heavier blaster things, gyroscopes, all hooked up at the front. All these are all piped in, by the way. Even these little guys are all piped in, and they go into a big, 4-way, 1 block wide by 3 by 3 junction that I have in the game. And then they all go into these big cargo containers here, with more small cargo containers scattered about inside. And we've taken some damage here at some point. And then we have, I believe it is, yeah, a bunch of reactors, which I should probably actually remove some of these and just put more cargo in. But for the time being, I think it's good enough. Anyway, guys and gals, if you want to go ahead and check these ships out, I'm just going to probably upload the world on the Steam Workshop, so you can hop in there and blueprint whatever you like out of it and play with any of these and have a fun time. Yeah, that'll be that. There'll be a link in the description below. Thanks a bunch for watching, and I shall see you guys and gals next time. Ta-ta.